Hey and welcome. I'm your boy Solo. In this video, I'll be going over how you can switch over to OBS fast and easy. Before I waste any more time, let's jump into it. If you've been using Streamlabs for a bit, this should be pretty easy. A small disclaimer though, you can import the sources and scenes, but the settings you will want to go over them a bit to make sure that they're set up right for you before you uninstall Streamlabs. To get started with this, we're going to want to open the Streamlabs, and we want to make sure that we name our scene something easy to find. This will help a lot, and that's it. We're just going to name it here. I'm just going to leave it as is. You can click the manage all, click here, and click rename, and name this anything that you want. I'm going to leave this here stock, just the name that it is, something crazy, just random stuffs. We're just going to leave this. But that's how you would name it, and you want to make sure that you do this. You want to make sure that you click on it, click manage all, click on the one that's active, and click rename, and type in the name, and then click done. This will make it a lot easier later on in the next few steps. I'm just going to leave this one here stock for this example, but I definitely suggest naming it. And that's it. Just close. Okay, now let's head over to Google, and we're going to type in OBS, or you can go to obsproject.com. It should be the first option. If not, it will be the second on the list. Once we get to the website, download it for the operating system that you have. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to download the Windows installer. If you have Mac or Linux PCs, download the one required for your system. On the download page, once the download starts, it will have some things to help you, some links to guides, overviews, forums, and stuff. I'll be covering just the basics, but if you like a little side reading, there's a lot of great content to follow along with on their website. So I definitely suggest, if you're interested in reading some of this here stuff, to follow along. There's a lot of ways you can fine-tune and customize OBS. Don't be scared to dive right in. And no worries, I'll be making sure to leave all of the links to everything in the description below, for just to make it easier for everyone, to make it as easy as I can for everyone. And once the download is done, we're going to find folder and click to install it. Okay, when it's downloaded, just install it like any other application, double click it and follow the instructions. I suggest leaving it in a suggested install location, so if you need it, you'll know where to find it later on. So keep that in mind. I just install it to the suggested location. I wouldn't change this if I were you, unless you know what you're doing, because if you do need to access files or drag and drop something in there later on when you get to be a more advanced user, this will make it a lot easier to find when it's in the spot. When you Google for help, it'll tell you where it is. If you install it somewhere else, you might not be able to find the same thing. So I suggest leaving this in the suggested destination folder and clicking the install. After it does its thing, it'll prompt you with complete the Studio, OBS Studio 27.13 setup, launch the OBS, and we want to definitely leave this check mark and click finish, and this will load up OBS. It's going to ask you and prompt you a couple times, and just click yes and continue. Now when this first loads up, it's going to bring you into the auto configuration. If this doesn't work, there is a way to get to it through the tools, but for now this here comes up and works pretty good. So the auto configuration is going to be great. Now, this is great if you've only used the auto configuration in Streamlabs. This will set up all of the basics for you, like in the settings, it'll set up all the stuff. So what you want to do is, if you're streaming mainly and recording is secondary, or not recording, pick the top one, optimize for streaming and recording is secondary. That's the one I suggest. If you're using it for recording, click the optimize for recording. It just depends on what you're using it for. And after you pick one of these, you just click the next button. And it's going to ask you a few more basic things. It's going to ask you for your canvas resolution. This isn't the resolution that you're streaming at. This is your screen size. So I would use your current screen resolution. And currently for mine in this example, it's a 1920 by 1080. That's actually my screen size. And I want to make sure that my canvas size is the same size. And I like to use the FPS, either 60 or 30, but prefer 60 when possible. And just I leave it like that and just click the next. It does give you a little bit of notes down here about the canvas base size. The resolution is not necessarily the same as the resolution that you will stream or record with. And click next. This next little bit of the auto configuration is just going to get you set up with the streaming service that you stream to. So whether it's Twitch or YouTube, in here is the spot that you want to do that. And this is just as basic and easy as clicking connect your account, recommend it. Click in and log in with your information. We'll do that off screen just a second. After it says welcome back to your username, you're going to need to, if you have two-factor authentication, you're going to have to request a text message or an SMS or an email for your token and type in that information. After that, you'll be complete. Make sure to remember it on your computer for 30 days. That will help you out a little bit as well. Okay, it'll authenticate you, and this here next page is going to ask you a little bit more information, the service being Twitch, and whether you prefer hardware encoding and estimate bitrate and bandwidth test. Make sure this will take a few minutes. I suggest, depending on whether you have an AMD GPU or a NVIDIA GPU, I uncheck the hardware encoding because my CPU is strong enough to do the recording while I play the game, and my AMD RX 580 just doesn't handle it all that well, and AMD doesn't encode quite as good as NVIDIA GPU. So I unclick this here option and click next. You may prefer that on. If you have a NVIDIA GPU, I suggest leaving that on, and click next again. This is going to go through a test, and it's going to check your internet to make sure that you can record at the bitrate that you're suggested. Or I mean, after the test, it will actually give you a suggested bitrate depending on what it comes out with when it's testing your internet. So this, after that's done, it'll come up with this here page and have the auto configuration wizard will give you a lot of the final results, and the test is complete. And it'll tell you what service, your bitrate. So mine's set to its maximum 6,000. The software encoder for software, so it'll use my CPU instead of my GPU, and it'll give me other things like my recording's going to be done on my hardware. I'm going to change that. And the quality, it'll say high quality, medium, depending on what it is, your base and your output. I'm going to change my output resolution to 720p by 60 because for fast moving FPS games, it will just absolutely look better. 6,000 bitrate's not good enough to make a 1080p look good ever. That's not enough bitrate to make any fast movement look good at 1080p or 1920 by 1080. So after that, we're just going to click the apply settings, and it's going to come up with your chat box and a few other things. It'll take a minute for these here to load in. Place and size things how you want them. And if you just needed a one button click, this works for most people. Just click apply, and if they look okay, just click continue. But now that it's all set up and this here thing's finally loaded in for me, now we're going to get on to the important part, and we're going to get our scenes imported. So for this here, we're just going to go up to the scene collection and click import. OBS can automatically find things. It tells you it can find some stuff. We just need to click on the yes. Okay, now this is why it was very important to go ahead and name your scene. I didn't name my scene for this here example in case people skip that step. I expected people to skip that step. Thanks for paying attention to the video. I'm just joking, guys. I love you. But in this here step, you would have to find the one that you named. So if you don't know what one it is, you can just import them all. I know that this one here is the one right here. It's usually the unnamed one on title, not desktop ones. But for this example, like I said, I'm just going to click them all in. And if you know what one it is, just click that one and import it. That'll make it a lot easier. So if you name the one, click import, this will have all of your stuff. For this example, in case that there was a problem, we're just going to click them all, and I'm going to go through them and show you how that's done as well. So we just click import. And even though it looked like it did nothing, when you click on the scene and collection, it's going to go through and show you that there's all of these. Now, if you didn't know what one is yours, you can go through and just click on one at a time. So that's scene collection. Nope, that one's not it. No, that's not it. That one's not it. That one was the original one that we had here. This is a desktop screen resolution. Nope, we're going to go to... Nope, that's not the one. And there it is. So this is the one. Now what you would want to do is go through and delete all the rest of them. So I would go here and remove. Yes. It went to a different one that I know I don't want. We're just going to click remove to all of the ones but the one we want. This is an extra step I went out of my way to do because I figured this here would actually be a problem for some people importing for their first time. And I just want to show that it's not too hard to fix it up. So you wouldn't have to do all these here steps if you took the time and actually named it correctly. And just remove this one here. Okay, there we go. We're left with our original scene that we had here at the very first. So this looks all correct. Looks good so far. And once you find it, just delete all the rest. Like I said, just go over the things after you delete it. Make sure that you check everything. Make sure your scenes have the same things in them. When you go through, you'll be able to see all of the things set up. I already noticed in my gameplay, I'm missing my sound options. So to fix this here, we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to the audio, and the desktop, we're going to click it on default. And the mic, we're going to set to, you can set it to default. I'm going to use the analog Focusrite USB audio and click apply. Those things were missing for me when I imported. This is the third time I've tried it, and it's been missing my audio every single time. So this is something when you're importing your scenes and your collections, that make sure you check the sounds on each one of them. And it's usually just your system sound and your mic that are different. So you just set those here in your desktop audio and your auxiliary mic audio. And once those are set, this will usually fix the problem. They'll show up here right away. And you'll have to add things like your filters. So if you had things set up in your sound settings, in your filters, you'll have to look back in OBS or Streamlabs, and you'll have to copy the filters by just adding them in here and looking back to Streamlabs and just copying over the settings. Will work the exact same here as they do there. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I do suggest, once you have everything here set up, I suggest using this here for a week before making a 100% commitment to this here. In case you do run into some issues, you'll want to make sure that you'll have Streamlabs actually still installed so that you can go back and look at your settings if you run into any issues. So I definitely suggest leaving Streamlabs installed for an additional week while you're getting used to this here program. Just in case you run into any kind of issues or problems, you can always go over and double check your settings, which is a really good way to have it set up exactly the way that you had it. Now after that, please do a few test streams to make sure things go well before committing the 100%. You don't want downtime when you just want chill time. So test, test, test. That's all there is to it. There's just a few plugins I like to use, like obs.live and the VST plugin Real EQ. Now the installation for obs.live will be the same. Just make sure to install the obs.live before doing all that login stuff at the first. Like if you want obs.live, make sure you install it with OBS so that when you do your sign into your Twitch, it will all be done at one time. If you do them separate, you'll have to log into your Twitch twice, which isn't a problem. It's just annoying to have to do it twice, and that'll just give you simple things like your news feed and a few other streaming tools. When you have a stock installation of OBS Live, it does add a tiny bit of bloat, but it is my favorite to use, but only a personal choice. That being said, that's really all there is to it. Oh, I guess a little bonus extra content. You can go into your settings, and you'll want to go to your outputs, make sure it's advanced, and you can fine tweak your settings. I definitely think it sets them up pretty conveniently on its own. But first thing you click the advanced mode, it will change all your settings from what it was. So it'll be set up correctly here, and when you change it over to advanced mode, you will have to set those things back. So you'll want to make sure that you put your 6000 bit rate and a few of your other settings. Keyframe intervals of 2, CPU usage, faster probably be your best bet. 6000 bit rate depending on how much internet you have. 2500 would be all you need. And click apply. Make sure you go to your output scaling, and I suggest changing this to 720p. So 1280 by 720. This is just much better for if you're playing any FPS games or of any type. I would suggest your base canvas 1920 by 1080 and your output scaling resolution 720p. So that's my suggestion. It would be depending on what game you're playing and your internet speeds. And I usually leave this here on the 16 samples and 60 FPS and apply. Okay, now that's all there is to it. That was just a little bit of bonus stuff. I almost forgot to put that in there. That's how quick it is to set those settings up. It only takes a few minutes to go through those and make them the same as your Streamlabs. So I definitely wish you all good luck with OBS. And if you need any help, leave it in the comments below. Join the Discord. Hit me up on Twitch, Twitter. I'm live quite often, like at least once a week. So if you have any questions, you can definitely check out my other content. And like I said, the Discord is always there. If you think I forgot or left something out, leave it in the comments below. And if you like or found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up and get subscribed for more content. Thanks for watching, guys.